When I tell you it's literally all I do, I'm probably the only person I know in the country. And I've heard another big hunter or two say there's no one else out there like me. You will never find the time to do what I do. I don't know anybody else out there, Jake. I really don't.
Welcome to another episode of the Whitetail Podcast brought to you by Moultrie. And this is with Jason Michael. Jason has prioritized his life to hunting whitetails on public ground, private ground.
Christmas Day, New Year's Day, all summer long, July 4th, I'm in multiple states every weekend doing something with whitetails. It's just a non-stop labor of love.
With a variety of states, different experiences, there's some key things here that you guys should enjoy.
I'm in my 20s. I got a flat brim hat. I wear my sunglasses upside down and backwards because I got to have that look. And I've always said, that lifted truck with all those stickers on, don't kill that deer.
Welcome to this week's episode with Jason Michael. Here we go.
That's the definition of woodsmanship. They had nothing to help them. There wasn't a camera, there wasn't a phone, and they had to figure it out.
Jason, it's good to see you.
We finally got it put together.
Yes, yeah. It was great. We grabbed some breakfast, caught up, and now I want to catch up with everything you have going on in your life. I always enjoy catching up with you, and you're a guy that has designed his life around whitetails. And it was funny, we were sitting at the diner, and we ended up talking about deer hunting for about another hour.
Oh my gosh, with that guy that come up. Great conversation. A great guy. Great dude. Yeah.
And now I have homework to try to find this new guest potentially.
Yes.
Whether I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I might figure it out.
It will happen.
So Jason, I want to give a little bit of an introduction for people who maybe haven't caught some of the past podcasts, but a couple things I always admire about you. Extremely positive. Mm-hmm. Always like to help people. And those are two key things that I like to surround myself around with people like that and, bounce ideas around it. But for that description, what am I leaving out that you want people to know?
Oh, man. Well, I'm 52 years old now. So like we discussed at breakfast, there's things I kind of could take or leave or dismiss, in retrospect to the whitetail game or my traveling that, would have just ate me up when I was 25 or 30. But I guess I'd have to tell you, I'm so dang grounded with it. I just don't get geeked out by a lot of I just don't let the big deer antler thing consume me. I appreciate it. I go after it. I have personal goals. And I just enjoy my walk every day. I'm a woodsman by trade, meaning I'm a chainsawer, and I'm always in the timber, or I'm always, again, as we discussed earlier, where I worked the last summer and this summer, I'm just always grass mowing, weed whacking, and then back to the chainsaw work, and then back to more Roundup spraying, but I'm just grounded. I'm just grateful to live the life I do, be able to do what I do. The income isn't there. That's the trade-off in life. George Jones had a song many years ago. It's called Choices. I hope the listeners pull it up and listen to it sometime by George Jones. And I made the bed I sleep in, and I don't regret one thing. I'm just very grateful for who I am, what I do, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Sometimes when people ask, well, who is Jason, or like maybe it comes up like it was a guy you had on the podcast and he kind of travels around and does different jobs throughout the year, and then I said the easiest way to describe Jason in some ways, and maybe you won't like the way I describe this, but I'll tell you, is the guy that's in West Coast California and he's like, hey man, there's some waves about 2 hours south, we got to head down there and catch that wave.
Yep.
And like, oh nope, the tidal wave up north is back, and you hop in your truck and you go ride the next tidal wave.
Yep.
I feel like that's a fair way to describe like your whitetail adventures.
It is. And some of my Instagram posts, if you backed up, I know I did it this past year, and I think I did it the year before. I can't remember. And I'm not that guy. I'll go sometimes 2-3 months and I don't do a post. Mm-hmm. And I don't need it. It's okay. I even tell people, hey, you know how they'll say, hey, like and subscribe and whatever. I'm like, don't hit the like button, and you don't even got to tell me you've seen it. I'm fine with that. I've just reached out to a dozen people or something,
Yeah.
But it gets contagious. I get a lot of good feedback. But I will tell you this, and I say this, I mean it. I try to be humble. I try to set this stage right here. I'm not your go-to big buck killer per se. I've done well, especially with what money I don't have, being a public land do-it-yourself hunter. I've done dang well. And but yeah, I guess the best way I would describe it is I just don't have a lot to work with. I go do the best I can. And some people will say, man, you tell me your stories. My dad or my brother, he's a big hunter. I said, hey, what is that? Describe that to me. And I say this without stepping on toes because I always put myself down below a lot of people. And you have a lot of guests on that I know, and they're just great dads. They're just great family people. They have great, great kids, and their wives are successful. They're successful, and they have a great wall. of deer. So that life is good for them. But if someone truly asked me, what would separate you, like how would you really sum it up? Christmas Day last year, and I believe Christmas Day before, I'm on a canoe in Kansas. And someone will say, and again, I'm not stepping on toes. Man, I got my kid's school play. Oh man, he's in Little League heavy. I can't go do March, April. State destination, shed hunting, trying to scout. It's became such a blur for me the last 20 years of my life, and more importantly, the last 10 years. When I tell you it's literally all I do, I'm probably the only person I know in the country. And I've heard another big hunter or two say there's no one else out there like me. I don't want to be your best woodsman. I'm not your best big buck killer. Don't make me your partner in a world-class 3D tournament. I'm not going to be able to help you.
Yeah.
You will never find the time to do what I do. I don't know anybody else out there, Jake. I really don't. I mean, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, all summer long, July 4th, I'm in multiple states every weekend doing something with whitetails. And it's not just a 10,000 mile on my truck summer. It's just a nonstop labor of love.
Yeah. Would you change anything about that? Would you change any of the path of your life up to this point?
In time, yep.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing this when I'm 60. And I've told my dad, I've told a couple close people in my life, I started this game fishing and I'll end fishing. Like you'll hear that old cliche, I'm going to hunt till the day I die. Nope. I'm going to become a camp cook. I'm going to sit on the back porch with the rifle, probably in my former state of Pennsylvania, and I'm just going to enjoy. I've done enough for 3 lifetimes. I really do, maybe even more. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of close friends that they've got their vacation scheduled. They food plot hard in the summer, and in the fall, back to work. And I just really have never had a true day job since probably age 35. That would help put it in perspective. And again, I'm 52 now.
Yeah.
To be able to live that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like to make 40, 50, 60,000 a year. I'm still about the same as when we started this all with Chad many years ago and Cameron and them. 22, 24,000. Boy, I might be getting close to 27,000 a year. And I live out of the console. I keep some cash there and I do my thing, and it's go time.
Yeah.
April, it's go time in June. I got a lot to do here in the end of July, early August. It's constant full court press for whitetails.
Yeah. What have you been up to this summer?
I'm still got that same job as last year. So I work at a place, throw it out there for some people. Guys want to get away with their wives for the weekend or take the family. Kelly's Island, Ohio. So I live on an island out on Lake Erie, not far from what you call Sandusky.
Yeah.
Or I think it's Cedar Point's right there, and then not far from Cleveland. And we take a ferry out on the island. It's about an 18-minute ride. And it's probably 3-4 miles out there. And that island's like basically 4 miles by 4 miles. And I live kind of in the central northern part of that little island, which is full of deer, raccoons. I see snakes every day. That's what Lew's is, like the Lew's fishing lure, L-E-W-S. Mm-hmm. That's a Lake Erie water snake. And that's where that came from. But I get a lot of Canadian cell service through my Verizon. So I'm up there. And I weed whack. We spray a lot. We got horses. I got lots of fencing I do, and then I mow grass nonstop on a 0-turn 72-inch Bobcat. That is a dream. But I've done that most all my life. I've mowed grass. I've weed whacked. I even did that when I was in the Air Force in Korea. We ran weed whackers. As silly as that sounds, out on the bunkers and the igloos and stuff with always pheasants around and stuff over there. But just been busy. And then every weekend, I haven't spent one weekend on the island this year. And I started like May 3rd or 4th or 5th right there, however that Saturday fell, I showed up, and I haven't spent one weekend on the island. I'm in southern Ohio a lot, an awful lot, and I usually don't go back to work till sometime Monday, and then I leave Friday usually at noon, and that's just the way it is. I could be there more and make a couple more dollars, but I can't put a price tag on my freedom.
Yeah.
That's another goal of mine in life. I can't put a price tag on my freedom, and I just go do my thing.
One of the most overlooked pieces of gear when it comes to whitetail hunting is your glass, and that's why I trust Hawk Optics. I've used all sorts of different binoculars over the years, and I truly believe that Hawk dollar for dollar is one of the best options. There's premium glass, a lifetime no-fault warranty, and the Frontier series has been great. I would put it up against any of the glass I've used in the past, and even some more expensive pieces of glass. So if you're ready to upgrade your glass, get a new pair of binoculars, use code WHTL15, or check them out in a retail store and give them a shot. Hawk Optics, vision accomplished. Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very fair way to look at that. So you've spent a lot of time on public, and then now I know you're spending a lot more time on private and doing all these different things. Which, if you had to say it, which one do you enjoy more? Because they're both two different ball games in a lot of different ways. They're different projects, different challenges. But what do you get more enjoyment or satisfaction out of?
Well, for over 20 years, I've been on the road now. This is like my 28th year. And after I got out of the Air Force, and again, being 52, the challenge has always been the public. That's all I've ever known. And I wouldn't call it my secret because I post about it. And I know, guys, you'll see the different groups getting into it, kayaks, but I've been using that canoe a long time. And I know John Eberhardt, followed him back many years ago. Just watch this guy doing all this stuff, canoe. Me and the deer can get in there, and that's how I bring them out.
Yeah.
But I think the public part of it has been the challenge. It's forced me to dig in really hard. I've just had a pretty dang good gift of it. A good student of the game, watch, and just lots of walking and paying attention. And then, you would kill 125s, 135s. You had to start somewhere, even 115s. It is what it is. And that was the learning process. That's all I've ever known. But then switching it over to private, now there's always that switch there. And having been in Iowa now, this is 19 years that I've been a resident of Iowa. And something big could come down the trail now. So, even if I'm on public in Pennsylvania or upstate New York, or I'm on some of these private pieces now in southern Ohio, I'm down there by the Ohio River in the bottom of the state. It's like, ooh, man, we're starting off with 140s, 150s, and the 160, 170 could be there. I know magazine-wise or certain YouTube channels-wise, there's always some just gagger, 190, 215. I get that, and that's always in the back of your mind, but I don't go to those destination spots, and I don't walk around and scout, and I don't hang trails hoping I catch a 200-inch deer. I'm just looking for something that's going to make me happy. For me personally, I've always told people, you do you. If you've never killed a 125 and you're taking on the public land game now and you're in your 20s, you may be in your 50s just starting this out, and you can kill a 125-inch deer on public ground, you did something, and you deserve to shoot that deer and put a tag on it. But in my mind, now I don't got to worry about parking where other vehicles do, other hunters walking in late, or seeing the headlamp going up a tree 80 yards from my setup or whatever. That's all out of the picture now. So the private land part of it, now that I'm getting into, is you kind of got it to yourself. You can expect more of what should happen, and you put in a food plot for a reason. You hang a camera here for a reason, and everything kind of should work. And that's not the case on public. But I'm rewarding myself now. I'm getting into my later years, and things are starting to get easier, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I've always noticed this in whitetail cribs, or even if you just go to a guy's house and they have their wall of deer, right? And there's usually a couple that are smaller, and it's when they were starting. It was when they were starting, and they were darn proud about that. And then as they progress and they raise their own goal, and it's almost disheartening to see people like discount that when they're like giving the little tour. And it's like, man, that was where you started, and that's what created the passion to go, like step up and continue up.
There's not one Major League Baseball player that didn't start with Little League. Yeah. It's impossible. You just have to, and I just again encourage everyone, even if you're 40 and you've never killed what I guess you would call a Pope and Young, a legit 125, or even if it just grosses over that, you got to do it. You're not going to regret it.
Yeah. And it fuels a passion to keep getting better.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think that's something that, do you remember your first big deer?
Yeah, the first deer I killed was a big deer. It shouldn't have happened.
Oh,
but it was a gross Pope and Young and netted Pope and Young.
Okay.
October 12th, Pennsylvania. October 12th of 94, because I left days later to go to Korea. It's funny, the military, you remember your social, you remember it like to the day.
Yeah.
And then I went over there for a 12-month run, and I killed that deer days before I left for Korea, because I went over there November 94 to November 95, which was my 4th year in the Air Force. And it was it. Had I shot at deer and never hit them? Absolutely. Up till that point, I never, you go through this as a bow hunter over the course of your 40, 50 years if you're going to go the duration. At that point, I'd never stuck a deer and not got him because I couldn't even hit him. At least I admit it.
Clean misses,
swing and a miss.
How did you get better?
Time, it's progression, and question's been asked a lot, and I think, this is kind of, I'm not going to say it's going to step on toes, but it'll put it in perspective. A lot of people start out in Little League, they do good, they get into high school baseball maybe, and their dad's like, man, he's got a shot at this college, and there's some scouts for the pros already know him, he's in high school. Then he makes it to college, and he just might go to D1 and be a pitcher or a center fielder or a catcher. Huge deal. He's still in a league of his own. And then those guys start getting whittled out. Eventually someone becomes a professional athlete at the Major League Baseball or NFL level. You're going to see, I've watched it over the years, these guys are all going through this progression, and they're trying to go from not Little League, but more like high school to thinking they're a Major League level bow hunter. And it's just not there for everyone. You could drop a lot of guys that have raced four-wheelers all their lives, have maybe a local sprint car or a quarter-mile-an-hour track. You could drop them in a NASCAR seat. You could give them probably a 3-month school, fund everything for them, and they're going to get lapped consistently at a NASCAR level. Mm-hmm. So even in the bow hunting world or turkey hunting world, for guys to go out and just think, man, I'm going to tear this up. I can do this. I can read these maps on my phone. I'm in my 20s. I got a flat brim hat. I wear my sunglasses upside down and backwards because I got to have that look. And I've always said, that lifted truck with all those stickers on, don't kill that deer. Just try and keep that in perspective and try and stay grounded. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, there's just those guys that try to swing for the fence. And I watched what's that called, halfway through the Major League Baseball season when they do
All-Star game?
The All-Star game.
Yeah.
All them kids care about is that home run derby. They couldn't tell you who had the most RBIs, who had best on base percentage, the ERA for the pitchers, who won the home run derby. Yeah. And that's a dream world, and I get that, and that's what dreams make things possible for a lot of people in life. I'm not condemning that, but it's just like, just a side note, I would just tell people to stay really grounded, stick to the woodsmanship, just stick to your game. You may live in South Carolina, you may live in Arkansas, it may be a little tough. Just do the best with what you can and just get better as an individual with what you have, and then expand from there in time.
Yeah. What's something, because, everyone says, woodsmanship is a lost art. Woodsmanship, my generation, younger than me, maybe even a little bit older than me, they don't have any woodsmanship. Mm-hmm. And if someone said, okay, this is really important, I'm not saying this, like all the people that have more experience than me, 20, 30 years more experience than me, they said, no one has woodsmanship, but then no one explains what woodsmanship is.
Just a slight example, when we were getting this equipment set up here 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay, what was one of the first things I said to you when we went for a side-by-side ride? Oh, there's a bur oak. That's a red oak. Yeah. Well, that one's an oak, but that's not in the white oak family. Then I went out here to get something and check my laundry that I got hanging out here on the truck, don't I, Jake? I'm drying my socks and just trying to travel across here, and I come back in and I go, Jake, that's a sweet gum tree right there. Yeah. And there's a lot of people, so that would be an example of woodsmanship.
So why should they know what those things are?
What deer eat, what turkey eat, what they eat that time of year. Mm-hmm. What stage of the game are we in? I watched farmers plant a dang cornfield for 25 years and didn't know that damn tassel on top is what pollinated that silk. Mm-hmm. I just was like, oh, that's just whatever. That's like leaves on a tree. That's no big deal. Yeah. I didn't know them deer. Even in high school, no one said, well, them trees give off the carbon. That's our blah, blah, blah. That's how we breathe. And you just got to dial in on everything. And I think I've referenced this, in the very first podcast we did, probably 7 podcasts ago, 7 years ago. I can't really remember. Maybe 8. Yeah. Barry and Gene Wenzel wrote that book, 50 Years of Bow Hunting Whitetails. And then in fine gold print under that, on the hard book cover, 50 Years of Bow Hunting Whitetails, studying deer and paying attention as you go. And it's just like, it's so easy for all of us in our world. You're 30, I'm 52. Yep. You can get caught up on your phone, nosing around, the kids that are in their 20s, all this. I'm like, man, I've seen a lot of teenage girls do that, and they always have the phone above them, angling down, looking. I'm like, why don't you ever do that and shoot up your nose? But they're just so caught up in a I almost want to call it a vicious cycle of technology, today's world we live in with the cell phones, and it's just slowly, if not in some cases rapidly, going away, and no one really pays attention to those details. That's all I had 30 years ago. And you look at guys like John Eberhart, you look at guys like Dan, guys like we listen to Don and Terry. Every week I listen to those guys, and he references Al Foster. Mm-hmm. That's the definition of woodsmanship. they had nothing to help them. There wasn't a camera, there wasn't a phone, there was warm clothing, but not like the stuff we got today.
For sure.
And they had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And they had to watch. And they're lucky if they had a piece of a junk pair of binoculars that were real loose in the middle.
Yeah.
And you dialed the thing in with your thumb to focus. They just had to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah.
So if you wanted to challenge someone that has enough ability to say like, okay, I don't think I'm a good woodsman. I just think of big deer, and I think of where can I kill one, and that's where my thoughts start and finish. What would you say to that guy for this season that wants to improve as a woodsman? So slow down, pay attention to the surroundings around you, but what else?
Yeah, that and just that simple bit you said would be the key. So a lot of people go, "Hey, what do you think I should do with this deer?" And I showed you a picture of a young gentleman that got into bow hunting, doing a lot of public land hunting. I won't say his name or even where he's at in the country, but he shared some really personal stuff with me of just a great deer. And we're not talking 130 or 140, and it's in a rough environment, and it's a big deer on cell camera, on video. But is it big timber? Is it broken farm ground? Is it long, narrow strips for a mile through broken rocky grass terrain in central and western Kansas? So a lot of it is just as silly as it sounds, just you got to start somewhere and take a long, slow walk, and you got to look left and right and be observant. And again, we're back to ditches and creek crossings, corner of fields, circle the whole field. You don't got to go in and pound it out.
Yeah.
Just circle the field edges to start from there and say, hey, I only got a limited time this year. I may be a evening hunting only till I get a weekend or two in the rut, get into the 10th, 11th, 12th of November maybe. And just baby steps, and just watch, be observant, pay attention, and you're going to learn. It's going to come to you, but you just got to be really open-minded.
Something I've tried to do is, you could use ChatGPT now probably too, but it's called the Picture This app. And so it's like, okay, I see deer are browsing on whatever species of plant that I don't know what this is. I take the time to take a picture of it, upload it. Okay, this is the plant. Or what type of oak tree is that? What type of white oak? Oh, it's a swamp oak. It's a chinkapin. That's something that I've tried to improve on, because I identify that I need to be a better woodsman. And so that's something that I try to make a point to do. I don't do it every time. Sometimes I'm in a hurry. But that's something that I think, would you say that's the right track?
I do. And just a simple, silly example. I've learned even more in the last 5, 6, 7 years of my life. I never even heard someone say, oh, that's a dogwood. What's that tree in your mom's yard? Oh, it's some sort of whatever dogwood. It's just a flowering dogwood. And a kuza or whatever, a sterling. And it's like, when someone told me about these red osier dogwoods, I'm like, hey, what's the flower? What for type of tree is that? They're like, it's not. It's a red spiny bush spike looking thing that grows out. And if you don't cage them, the first few years of their life, they're going to decimate them in December, January, and February. I'm like, it never stops. And I had to learn what was a red osier dogwood and really dig into it and study up on them.
Yeah. And you've been, this summer, you've had a different food plot strategy. And I think that food plotters, and I put this in parentheses, but have become a lot more crafty and a lot more in tune with trying to actually improve the dirt that the stuff, the stuff grows on. You sent me a video, and I saw it on Instagram too, of this lush summer food plot. Tell me about that, because it's really interesting.
Well, for starters, that specific mix in that bag is called Summer Draw. And I deal with John Stolzfus of Thunder Ridge Outfitters back in Pennsylvania, and he's our supplier for our store where I was formerly from, or I go back 6, 7, 8 times a year to get stuff and visit family in Pennsylvania, Turbotville, Pennsylvania to be exact. And people were like, I'm not far from where I was raised, far from that Williamsport, home of the Little League World Series. It's right there. And Sealands Grove and Sunbury and Milton, Lewisburg, they're all in those general areas. They come to Ag Pro, and that's our store, and that's where Dennis Keener and Darren Keener are at, and that's where I purchased that from. So it's basically $100 a bag. It's does 1 acre, and in that mix called Summer Draw is the sunflower. And I heard, again, I've said at breakfast about 4 or 5 weeks ago, a podcast there with Don Higgins and Chasing Giants, a listener submitted question come in and said, hey, Don, how do you feel if I really went hog wild on sunflowers? And he kind of read the question and goes, yeah, you know what? I think that'd be a fantastic idea, but you better plant a lot of them. And that gave me a little more excitement for my efforts put forth for what I did, because I listened to those guys. But we drilled that summer draw June 1st, and the other day was August 1st, and I shot that video.
A lot of growth in 2 months.
That's 6 feet of biomass in 60 days. But the key to that is that I mentioned in the Instagram, the nitrogen that gives off from the sunflower, the sun hemp, buckwheat exponential, milo, and then there's a bean in there, a different kind of bean, a specific name. Like a power bean, it gets huge with big leaves on it. Those 5 things for sure are in there, and they're just dumping nitrogen in there like you cannot imagine. And obviously a lot of rain this year. I got in a touch late, but still my crop accelerated.
Plenty of rain this summer.
I'd like to have been in 3 weeks earlier, about May 10th, May 15th, but with my work back in the summer, getting off the island and getting out there, gas, time, away from work, whatever, it happened on June 1st when we videoed that in the old time drill we used. In 60 days, that punched it out to what it is today. That'll get broke down in about 2 weeks, if not 3 weeks. I might lightly disc that just to break it down, or I'll go in there and brush hog it. And then all that green fodder, that matter, 2 and 3 and 4 foot sections laying there is like straw on your yard when you plant grass seed. I'll go through there with my mix of like kale and rape, turnips and radishes, broadcast that through there and walk away. No pelletized fertilizer. Absolutely none. I don't want no man-made chemicals on that specific plot. I'm just going to try and do it as organically as possible and just let it be.
Are you going to take soil samples like over a period of time to see what it does?
I haven't yet. They have them though from what that was. That was currently a corn or soybean crop rotation. So it's a 15 acre area with a big peninsula that goes in. It's just shy of 5 acres. And they gave me that for the years to come and said, do what you want with it. And I'm did the perimeter with switchgrass, did a mohawk strip down the center with switchgrass, and then I got some corn over here, and then next year we're going to get into some more stuff with corn, soybeans, and I'm even going to drill probably comfortably long, narrow strips of it, pumpkins. We'll drill pumpkins. Yeah. And I sat over a field of that in Wisconsin probably 15 years ago, and I'm like, there's no way. And I've talked to different friends from Michigan, their head will disappear. Once they figure it out and it rots out, the critters, the coyotes, foxes, raccoons, of course, and the deer that eat on them pumpkins is unbelievable.
Yeah. That's, when would you say is the peak pumpkin food source? Like you mentioned, so this kind of a...
Well, everything was picked because they're pumpkin harvesters for Halloween. Everything was taken to like Hy-Vee, for example, and all your chains around the big grocery stores, Walmarts. And then I was there at Halloween. And like 40% comfortably of all those pumpkins were still left there hanging on the vine. So I'm going to tell you, my hunt was the first week in November.
And it was like
here they come.
Attractant.
I'm like, this is crazy. I didn't get a buck out of that deal, and it wasn't no real exceptional property, but I just couldn't believe the draw for the dang pumpkins.
I'll be darned. So how many of that 5 acre field do you think half acre that's going to be pumpkins?
I'm going to shoot for maybe an acre.
Okay.
Yep, I'm going to really do it right.
Long draw.
Yep, then I'll move my corn over, bring my beans over. I might go for the conventional corn, the conventional beans, do the pre-emerge early, and get in there and then go no-till drill it, and then just walk away.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. What else? Because you kind of, is it fair to say you kind of been handed the keys of this place to some degree? The shared key?
Yeah, the shared key. They're really good with me on that. And just from cameras to mineral sites, they do alfalfa, they do their corn, they do their soybeans. But as far as that 5 acres goes, and then to the north of that field, there's a 10 acre, oh boy, more red oaks than white oaks, up and bur oak. But we're going to go in there and log it ourselves. Even if we can take 20, 30 trees out at a time this March, and then maybe 20, 30 more trees the next year, and do a more aggressive section where I can get in there and pick an acre out of that 10 acres and go over here, an acre of that 10
section.
Section, and just get some sunlight in there and just see what we can do at the key spots.
Yeah. I want to loop back to the Woodsmanship and with oak trees specifically. Give a breakdown of typically, so someone right now, they're hanging cameras or they're going to be scouting and they look up and they're like, oh yeah, there's going to be acorns on this white oak or this swamp oak. Have you noticed over the years of, hey, if your red oak has acorns, this is when you need to be paying really close attention when they drop. Have you noticed any, like, to categorize each subspecies of white oak? Because white oaks are in a lot of this country, so it should help, help a lot of people.
Yep, the white oak is the king because of the taste, because there's not as much tannin in there. And I believe, if I don't want to say this is 100%, but you'll hear someone say, a mother will say to the kid, "You keep that up, I'm going to tan your hide." So the red oak is really more acidic, more bitter, and that's the tannin in there. And that's where a lot of those trappers back 150, 200 years ago or more, that's where a lot of that tannin come out of to tan their hides. And that's one of the little backstories on that. But the red oak, I've seen an article in North American Whitetail, it's over 10 years ago. And I know of that guy that wrote, I just can't think of his name now. He's like world champion turkey caller and out of Missouri. But he said, don't forget those red oaks, first and second week in November. And everybody's like, man, white oaks, third, fourth week of September, we're on them early season. First 2 weeks of October, going real remote. We know there was a white oak cluster back in the mountains of Pennsylvania or Ohio, back deep in the timber. We're going to go in there with our climbers and hang out in the evenings. And I'm like, okay. But the white oaks would drop first, and then the red oaks hold on. They hold their leaf color a lot longer too. You'll see green first week in November, still a light green, or it's before it's starting to peak out, and then they hold their dang leaves in through Christmas, some of them. But that red oak will drop later, so that's the key with that. And they're munching on them, whether they like them or not. It's the next best thing in town, since the white oaks were either gone, gobbled up, or just whatever the case. So that's a part of Woodsman there. Follow that, and then study up on your other oaks. But red oaks, the first and second week in November, I shot the biggest deer of my life off of that, because the doe come down, fed under me, and he kept milling around, and he started to go away. And I think, looking back on it over the years, he was going to check a scrape out there 40, 50 yards away and then maybe come back. But he followed her all the way out. He fed around her for a bit above me, and she was like 15 yards, and I still snort wheezed to him 3 or 4 times. It didn't bother her. I had to try, and he couldn't see her, and then he came back. But that was all over red oaks.
That's interesting, because usually when I think of red oaks, I'm thinking of December and January. Honestly.
Yeah, and so they'll hold, really, and they're there, and the turkeys are after them too. Same thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's one thing when you're either scouting public, or I know you were showing me the Onyx Trail of that farm that you're hunting. What gets you excited? Because you mentioned, you showed me your track and your trail. You walked, what was it, basically 10, 12 miles in the 2 days. Yeah, in the 2 days.
The original day was 9 some, but that's when I left the tracker on in my truck leaving the farm, and I had to back 2.5 miles off.
It was like 7 the first day and almost 4 the second day. So, and you found how many spots? Because I think this is really interesting.
Really only 4 that tripped my trigger on the 300 acres, and 2 that I wanted to jump up and down about, and I had to almost coin flip on those 2.
Yeah.
And they're 100 yards apart.
Interesting. So break that down of what that, like the spot within the spot. So you have 300 acres. That's a lot of ground for almost everyone.
So here's Illinois, and here's Iowa to the west. And here's the Mississippi River coming down the middle. There's only a handful of bridges to get across to each state. And I'm on the main bridge. And it's terrain. It's that saddle. It's that swale that comes up out, and that's some rugged terrain where I'm at, which, by the way, I said to you, typically all public, a little bit private, but mostly all public, South Central Iowa. Now I got a 2-hour drive. So I'm more western central Iowa, and it's more broken terrain and more rolling hills and cattle country. But this is Project 300 for me. So it's 299 point something. So I call it the 300. And there's no life on it in terms of this little cabin that they have, and it's doable. There's running water. It's okay. It's fine. It's going to be warm. It's got heat, but very rustic. That's it. Right at the entrance. Most people have these driveways that are 400 and 600 yards long, and they got to get up in there. And I want my ski lodge up in here. I want to put the cabin as soon as you enter, and then just let 99% of that property go. There's nothing there. There's never been cattle. There's no barbed wire. And 3 of the 4 properties that touch it to the south, southeast, and over to the east, the one's 330 acres. No cows, no homes, 0. It's the dangest, vastest thing I've ever come across.
Yeah.
And I can hear cows moo, and then we have ag that touches us to the north, and some heavy-duty ag with terracing that touches us with timber to the west. Like I could shoot an arrow from our property line into that ag. It's right there. Which also, my 4 cameras I put out on 4 mineral sites, 3 of them basically were a flop. There's deer on all of them. There's bucks on all of them. But, you're going in there thinking, man, where's these 160s, 170s? This is Iowa. This is extremely locked down, private ground. No management. It's just rustic. It's left go. Bur oaks. Oh, my word. White oak and red oak. But the bur oaks are just prehistoric. Nothing's just 100 years old. There's bur oak through there. And I told you they're going to start logging this fall. So I'll hunt 700, 800, 900 yards away from all that activity. And I'll keep hunting and have a time of it. But yeah, that terrain... 2 stands, 100 yards apart on 300 acres. I have others, but those 2 that's it.
The spots.
That's the spot.
The Whitetail Podcast is brought to you by Moultrie. One of the first cameras I ever bought was a Moultrie, and they've come a long way. Whether after your first deer ever or this is your 20th year of hunting, Moultrie has you covered. Their cellular trail cameras have no SD card, very easy to use and set up right out of the box. I love to pair the Power Mag with a Pro Series camera. The Moultrie cameras are affordable, effective, and reliable with US-based customer service, 2-year warranty, and just a great camera. So the next time you're in the store and you're trying to decide what camera to buy, I encourage you to try a Moultrie if you want to support the podcast.
And it is solely because, what about the access to the terrain too? Because I feel that, I'm just curious. What would you grade the access to these 2 spots on a farm of that size?
Let's go with the 1 to 10 scale. I'm
Yeah.
going to give it an 8, 8.5.
Okay.
It's in there. Could I bounce a deer on the way in? Absolutely. But remember me telling you, I only walk that logging road that goes east to west, dead through the center of the property from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I don't touch 10 and 11, and I very rarely ever touch it at 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And that's hundreds, 600, 800 yards away from my tree stand, a lot of those borders. And I walk through the deepest, darkest, dense timber. It's like big timber in Ohio or Pennsylvania or upstate New York in terms of a 300-acre farm.
Sure.
I just walk through the absolute middle of it. Don't need a flashlight. Logging road. You could ride an e-bike. I might try and grab one for this fall or borrow one. And the tree stands 5 yards out of the way or 45 to 50 yards out of the way.
And you were saying when we were having breakfast too that when people hear logging trail, I think they think of a variety of different. They think of the a tiny little 2-track that you can fit your 4-wheeler on.
I drove my truck down it.
Yeah, that you get slapped in the side or slapped in the face from branches. So this is a wide, big logging trail.
Yep, a farm tractor could go through there all the way through it. Yep.
Do you think that helps your point with the access too? Because it is so wide and it's not one that a deer can go make 100 scrapes on that on that road.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. That's interesting. You've also been working on some fruit trees too this summer. You've sent some videos. I want to hear about your thought process on fruit trees. You've helped a mutual friend plant trees and do some TSI. So I feel that a lot of people really, really, really love fruit trees and think they're a big impact to a farm and having something different. Where do you fall on that scale? Some people think that they're just raccoons and coyote bait traps.
So when I explain this and lay it out, this is solely just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'll plant 30 crabapple trees to 1 or 2 or 3 regular apple trees. They drop in September, early October, just ballpark. Some are extreme late August here. They're starting to turn, and some hold on to the middle and more at the end of October. So in the apple tree world, which they usually need a pollinator, and when you're dealing with like a Liberty apple tree, which again, Don and them have talked about a lot with Gingrich and stuff, they're pretty much fire blight resistant. Kind of like in the pear world, which I plant them too, I go with a kefir.
Yep.
And if I need a backup because it says semi or slightly fire blight, is a moonglow. And then a Seckel pear, it's a good pear. It just kind of grows wild, a lot of little pears on it, but it says in the description, most sugar content of all the pears. So
wow.
I do that, in the pear world, and then I plant a Gold Rush, a Liberty, and because they were at my fingertips and they grow so rapid and get such a heavy stalk, I run a fair amount of ambrosia apples. They all need a pollinator, and they are not all full fire blight resistant, but the Liberty is pretty much the king of that castle. The crabapple, as a rule, a lot of them are grafted and bred for different drop tines and there's thousands of them, literally thousands of them. And Michigan University's really up on that. Anything up north, they love extremely cold conditions. Up into Canada, they can freeze out all winter. That's what they're designed for. I think pound for pound, they're the toughest tree you could plant. And if someone ever said, what would you recommend? If a guy could do it, they'll go, I got a 50-acre farm. I got a 300-acre farm. What would I do? Find a designated region out on a top where you can draw them out for a late season food source and put 50 of them in. 30 foot on center, not 20. 25's okay. I just prefer 30. And we're running 3 different varieties of crab apples that are all self-pollinating and all fire blight resistant as a rule. They're just tough as nails. They can handle drought more. A crab apple, technically, they're growing along the highways and stuff. You see them in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana coming across. They're just a tough son of a gun. You just don't see Red Delicious, Macintosh, whatever, growing at random like that. They just don't do it. So they're fire blight, they're self-pollinating, and the drop tines, meaning the time of year, the drop time, is more around Halloween as a starting point. Mid-November to Thanksgiving is another drop time. And then mid-December through mid-January is another drop time. And if someone said, hey, can I just grab 10 of these? Absolutely. I'd get 3, 3, and 4.
Sure.
And I have a variety called a 30-06, one called a crossbow, and another one called a drop tine, like the deer has a drop tine.
Yeah.
And I plant those 3 just for the simple fact that they have different drop times. And if you can do that around like one of your key stands or your closed huts or whatever you have, a ladder, hang on, whatever, and you give them about 4, 5, 6 years, you're going to start to see them really shine. My 2-year-olds right now that I have, I've been using a lot of that Mike's Mighty Micros, and I spray them once a week. And if I don't get back there in time, I'll do it every 3rd week. But there was a 3-week window where I did it every week. And then I put a liquid fertilizer. You'd think it looks like Miracle-Gro, but it's not. It's pretty hot stuff. 1 tablespoon to the gallon. I got big 5-gallon jugs. I have 240 trees potted, 180 of them that are super special. And then I water them with that fertilizer and that water the same day I do the leaves on top. And my 2-year-olds are off the chain. It's prehistoric.
They're huge.
And they're carrying fruit.
Yeah.
And they're not fully 2 years old. They won't be till October.
It's crazy.
They were a year and a half old when you seen them. They were grafted.
Yep.
They were bare root out of the ground. They were put in the freezer for the winter, and they were brought back to life in the end of March, early April, when we would sell. And sell them as a bare root tree. I got them in May, a lot of mine, and I would work for the individual, and I would work for the trees, not the money. And I potted them in 5-gallon containers, and they're good for that first year with that. And I've heard Don, different guys talk, boy, you start holding them 2-3 years in that pot, you'll curl them roots, and you got to correct it and watch that when you do take them out. But I've had them in my pots now for about 4 months almost, and they're race ready, and they're all getting sold this fall.
Yeah, well, I'm buying some, so make sure you.
Yep,
you
for
chop.
sure.
Well, now, what would you say to? Because I know a lot of people reach out to you and just ask random questions. But if you had to tell a guy, hey, pretend I message you or I give you a call, hey Jason, I want to kill my first good buck this year. I've struggled. What would you tell that person? Because there's a million different things that they could do, right? And without asking them, 50 follow-up questions, because that's probably what you would need to know to get the full scope of what's going on. What would you say to that person? Like, hey, I just want to have a better experience. I just want to have a better season than what I've had in the past. And I can make up a scenario to give you more direction, but I'm just curious if something jumps out to you.
If someone asked me that right now, just like you did with the lake trail camera question, which is a great question to ask this time of year, because a lot of us are in that category, I'd say hunt where you're currently hunting, but be ready to go look for more ground. You might have to drive 50 miles one direction from your house in Virginia or South Carolina or Arkansas, wherever that may be. We all use OnX Map. We're all trying to find something. Locate it, look at it, look up the seasons, the dates. Maybe it's another state destination, over-the-counter, affordable tag. And you got to go find new ground. But if you're still limited and you got your 50-acre private ground or you got your 1,500 acres of public ground, there's really only 2 things you can do. You're going to have to lay off what you call a 100-inch deer and just forfeit potentially eating your tag. That's really the key thing. You're just going to have to be extremely patient and be willing to not shoot something. Because if you shot something middle of October, well, the best is yet to come. You're taking advantage of what ground maybe you don't have to work with. You don't have a food plot. You don't really have a big farm to work with. And you're just going to have to dig in, go find new territory, deploy some cameras, and be ready to pass deer that you are not comfortable with normally passing. And for some people, that might be a 115, a 120, and you're just going to have to let him go if your goal is to try and even break 130.
Do you think that inherently forces people to become better hunters too? Because if, let's say, the first, and I'm just saying this as a frame of reference, like okay deer, whatever an okay deer is to you. Like, yeah, I shot one, and when I walked up to him, I wasn't fist pumping and super excited, but I said, oh, that's a pretty good deer. So by passing the pretty good deer, whatever that is to you, you have to spend more time in the woods because you're not done. You don't put on cruise control and wait for Christmas.
Perfect example. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you interviewed the individual on a podcast, but it's someone you know of. Who's that individual that said, I'm not using a weapon to hunt this year. I'm going to carry a camera the whole season and video my season?
I know Jamie Martin. He's an antler collector. He does a lot of photography every year.
He could tell you stories we haven't even scratched the surface of yet because we're done and tug out. I go to Illinois for a week. I'm done on day 2. I'm driving through the night to get to Iowa, tag out in 3 days. I'm driving back to Ohio to try. Yeah, you go the distance and be more patient. Absolutely. And as always, put that mock scrape close to you. Yeah, but it's not really a high traffic area. Or I'm not on a logging road and it's not a field edge. It's not a place where I normally see them. Put that mock scrape within 10, 12 yards of you. Get tight, get high, and bring it in tight. Have some fun. Watch the 4 points. They might even look at you and move a little bit and then go about their business. You got to get good at having deer around you. But create some entertainment there. Maybe put a camera on your tree facing the mock scrape. Check that card. When you get up in the tree in the morning, or maybe after it's safe and it's 9:30, 10 in the morning, now it's time to check that card. Just have some fun. Experiment.
Yeah. That's tight, 10 to 12 yards.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. But if that's where the real tree is, I had in some of my notes there, just here, for example, just what I work with the my products, things I do.
Yeah.
When I take that fanny pack in, and it's March and April, and I'm shed hunting, which I don't do a lot of that, but I'm just looking for the next good tree. Like that old saying goes, that's been around for probably 30 plus years. If you own 10 acres, or I'll keep it real, no more than maybe 80 acres. Because once you start getting 400 and 500 acres, there's 2 or 3 good trees.
Sure.
More deer walk by the best tree in that timber than any other tree in the woods. So I'm looking for that tree. That's what I've been doing all my life, trying to find that true killing tree. But when I'm walking around in, say, March or April, I always have my fanny pack on me with the straps on, the clips in the chest and the waist. I always have my pruners. Always have a folding saw. I use the red one by Corona. I buy them all at Lowe's. All of them. I always go into a Lowe's and buy the red Corona folding saw. They really only have one size and one hanging there. Paracord. And I always have zip ties in there.
What do you use the paracord for?
I'll tie the licking branch down. I'll reach way up there or throw something over it. Get a big stick with a hook on the end of it if it's 10 feet. Try and get it down so I can get a hold of it. Paracord that back to that tree, and I'll get that licking branch started even in April. And even last week when I was out there in Iowa walking around 3-4 days ago on the 300, I set some up close to the trees just to get them started. And then I reach in my pack where I keep, for all my years, one of my closest, kindest people I know in this game, Smokey McNichols with Smokey's Deer Lure, and I just touch that up once a month when I go back, once every 2 weeks, once every 4 months. Whenever I get back, I touch that licking branch up, and I use that paracord to tie that branch down to about chest height, snip it, get the leaves out of the way if it's this time of year, and leave about 5-6 inches stick out, and then run that back to that tree. It might be a 4-inch diameter sapling, it might be a 10-inch tree, and wrap it around, tie it off, and call it a day. And then
because the point of that too, just for everyone listening, is to get it right at that right height. Because there's sometimes you have one that's a little lower, one that's a little too high, but it's the right spot to do it. And so and
if it's too high in what you would think is ideal, so I like it about chest height, chin height,
and
when they walk up
about
to
7'11" too.
Yeah,
7'11".
Yeah, and they walk up and they bend their head up, so they get another foot there anyway, easily 1.5 feet, and Yeah, that would be the main thing. Get that just about perfect. Oh, but the deer that I have on video and I watch them, I watched the deer come by the scrape, and the one would hit the one where he could work it standing. The other one went past it, the same camera I had on video mode. Then I'm filming this deer in that was in southeastern Iowa about 7-8 years ago. He wasn't having it with that licking branch that was normal size. He was going 15-20 feet out of his way. He had to stand on his hindquarters. I still have that footage to this day. I may post that this week for an example piece. He stood up and would walk and walk and walk on his hind legs, and that was just his flavor. That's what he preferred, his preference.
Yeah. That is interesting. You mentioned, I think this is a really good point because I want to bring it up again. Get good with being deer around you. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? Does that mean sitting like a stone and you're scared to move? Because I think people think of different things there.
So you'll hear people say, put the pin on them, pull back, put the pin on them, a doe or 2 fawns, a 4-point, and people say, of course, keep your finger off the trigger. It's happened. Yeah. And they bump it. But you just got to get good. So this is an interesting one I'll throw at you to back up that question. You can't truly prepare. I'll just throw the big number out there. You can't truly prepare if all you've ever killed in your life, which is fantastic, is 130, 140-inch deer, 115, 120-inch deer. If a 160-inch 8-point shows up for that individual, it's going to test you. You can man up and act all you want. You're going to get tested.
Yeah.
If you and I are in a tree and a mainframe 190-inch typical comes out by us, he's pushing a doe, and then he circles in behind the tree at 8-10 yards, and she's out there and she's settled down. Now they've been around you for 2-3 minutes. She starts browsing. Well, he's going to stand there with her for 15-20 minutes till she moves off. The race is on.
My heart is actually elevating just
Jake,
thinking about that.
When that moment comes, when the devil's about ready to go down to Georgia and you're ready to pull that bow back, you cannot truly train for that. And just having more doe around you, more 4-points around you, having 7-8 deer around you with maybe 2 of them smaller to mid-sized bucks that you're like, your question earlier, I got to let these deer go because I got 30 minutes of light left and I hear something up in the woods like it's rubbing. Now you're starting to, okay, this is real. I got the wind. I've got this. You've got to get your head on straight. Like that's go time. Mm-hmm. And that you can't train for that. And I know it's a little bit of a crude example. I don't even know, but I can only imagine the training a sniper goes through.
Right.
But when it's go time in Kuwait, Afghanistan, Baghdad, you can't train for that moment. It's about to get real.
Yeah.
And you have to have your head on straight. We're just bow hunters trying to shoot deer, put venison in the freezer, or maybe our personal goals of trying to get the next new best buck. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. For, again, you, me, people in my family, a 4-point comes by, you're like, I don't want to shoot that. That's nothing. You put the pin on it, you're studying, you let down, it walks off. You're like, that's nothing. If you turn your head and here come a 230-inch deer, some Bass Pro Shop deer, you're going to go from 0 to 60, and there's people that they just can't get it done. I have friends that they'll shoot their deer, or they'll have a heck of an encounter with a deer they really wanted and couldn't get it. They throw up out of the tree.
Oh, really?
They throw up out of the tree. Someone will say to you, not only just gutting a deer, people can't handle that. There's people that get sick. They sit down, they need a drink of water, and it just tests them that much. And that's who they are. That's what makes them special, I guess. But you got to get good with deer around you. I like it. People get put on a bait station. I'll tell you a really good one that people truly are talking out of their mouth sideways on. I'll say, hey, have you ever gone on a bear hunt? Yeah, I don't know. It's just a bear. It's Yogi. It's like he's coming into the picnic basket and he's going to mill around. 100-pound bear shows up. And if we were sitting with him filming or whatever, like, okay, or just, it's going to be a small one, don't shoot it. They'll come back and say, I've never been so jacked up in my life. When a 300-pound, God forbid you if a 400 or 500-pounder walked out, because you'll see it. Mm-hmm. When they get close to that barrel bait station and they get like 25 feet away and they're not fully exposed yet and they're looking around and they lightly look up at you, they know you're around. They know everything and they smell better than a deer. They're the elite of the elite. Your grizzly or polar bears, the whitetail isn't on that level with their nose. But the bear, the king of that. And it backs up from the bait and circles behind you and then tries to come out over there. It knows something's up and it still doesn't accept it and it backs off. You will be in a place you've never been before. It will test you like you've never been tested. And it's just a silly old, slow moving, dumb old black bear on a bait station. It'll test you. But again, back to the deer, it's just like you got to be in those positions. You got to get better. It takes years. Yeah. Just give it time. Be patient.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. That's something that everyone. Oh, I don't get buck fever. I don't get buck fever anymore. Like everyone that is likes to pretend.
Do you know what they all say? Not even your big names, but just people that are trying to rub shoulders with you. And they're maybe 3 levels below you, 1 or 2. If there are levels above you, and that's great. And there are many of them people. They don't get into it as much. But the guys that are trying to beat you for the moment, like, I'm pretty good with it. I don't get it bad till after the shot and I sit down and then I really shake. And everybody says that.
Yeah.
And I have a video from last year. I think it was November 7th, super foggy morning. Then I got to see Lee Lakosky's kill. He killed. I'm just guessing. I'd like to ask him or he'd know when. I'm going to tell you he killed within 15, 20 minutes of me, maybe after me. Mm-hmm. But I shot it super foggy. It's on my Instagram post I don't post any deer kills till like February 1st. Just let things get out of the way. And I've only done it twice. But this past year, you'll see the deer work goes over and dies. It's super foggy. It's in Iowa, public ground. And his tail's going in circles. And it's going in circles. He's on his side. He jumped into the brush. And I turned the camera back to me, or my iPhone. And the first words I said, being November 7th, we just got past November 5th.
Yep.
And I said, and yes, Donald J. Trump is the president. Is my president or something like that. And then I talk a little bit. And that would give you an example. But that's 30 plus years of putting arrows through deer. And
what goes through your internal monologue? At least maybe you don't have one. I know I have an internal monologue. And you're like, okay, all right, yep. That's a buck. Pull my binoculars. Okay, yep, that's one I want to shoot. Or that's, I want to keep watching them, see what happens. What is going through your process of he's 60, 70, 80, 90 yards away, 100 yards away, and you think he's going to work your direction? Is there a mental checklist, or is it just kind of you've done it for so many years that you're like, okay, I'm going to wait for him to start walking. I'm going to grab my bow. Like, is there any sort of process there?
My first thing is the wind.
Okay.
And more times than not, I'm in that stand for the right reason, and I got it. And if he comes in super tight, sub 20, more like 8, 9, 10, 12 yards, and the wind, he's starting to go to the right of me, and I'm going like this, coming around, working around. I'm moving with him right there. Well, you got to do it.
So that's something that I think to bring up when you have to move. You have to move because I just hear a lot of stories.
You got to try.
He was right there and I couldn't move.
And it's November 6th, November 13th. Yeah. He's cruising or he's watching a doe. You really will get away with an absolute lot. But the first thing is if I even snort wheeze, a light rattle or a snort wheeze, now he's not just coming my way because he's feeding his way through, going back to bedding in the morning. He's coming in on a mission. He's looking for me.
Yeah.
Now the odds are lightly against you, but you got to call him in. You got to get him over there. You got to try. And I got the wind, or I might check it lightly with my breath, and it's just, I'm like, okay, you got the wind. He's focused. He's coming on through. He knows that scrape's maybe there. If I have something by me, now he's going to go and work that scrape. And you're just slow down. Sometimes in your nose, out your mouth, breathe. You're going to get shakes a lot because people are starting to hold their breath. They don't even know it. People are lightly holding their breath for 5 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
And if it's chilly out, you're going to start shaking.
Yeah.
Have I had the shakes? I've had doe buckle me almost as bad as buck because I'm like, oh, I'm going to get them. They win me, bounce away 5 yards, and I'm good full draw real quick.
Yeah.
You just went from 0 to 60, and you just got to just let it out, come down on them. Pin, and in some cases punch, and I do try and squeeze my shots off, but when you're amped and the pin's there, put a good arrow in him.
What happens when you see the deer? Okay, oh yeah, that's that buck that I've been waiting to see. This is why I'm in here this morning. And you check the wind, and you're like, oh man,
he's going to
get down. He might get downwind of me here.
Immediately you might know it's 50-50. This may not work out.
Yeah.
There's a part of me. I've taken some tough shots on some critters. And got her there. Yep. Taking some tough shots on some critters. One I almost don't care to talk about. He was quartering at me hard at 42 yards, and he didn't last 10 seconds. And I have that. I could post that piece too. I snort wheezed and snort wheezed and snort wheezed.
So when you see it might not, like, oh crap, he might get downwind of me, you try to
I couldn't get him to hop the fence on public ground, to go from public to public.
Oh,
And it was right there off the highway, and Hy-Vee tractor trailers are running, and they're in my trail camera. When the deer's at night walking, there goes the Hy-Vee trucks with all their lights on. It's right there.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's like, you just know maybe this may or may not work. So I'll start picking a hole. And it comes down to that thing too. I've been hunting this deer maybe 2 years, or I've had pictures of him all through velvet, all through hard antler, and he's a homebody, and he's right there. And he's 4-year-old, 140-inch deer, maybe 135-inch deer, something somebody wants or I would want. Yeah, it's just like it's going to test you, and you just know it may not work. They'll circle you. They're going to look for the wind. They try to do that with rattling more than maybe even calling. But if I snort wheeze, they pretty much come straight on the line. They'll try and hook it a bit, and then they get to the point they'll lock up at 30, 35, and then they're like, they ain't having it, and they just slowly decide to start turning away, and you give them the bat and hit full draw, and you just got to get it done.
I think that's a really key piece of advice there, that 30, 35-yard hang up, be ready. Anything else in the moment of truth that comes to mind that you think a lot of people may overlook? Because everyone can say this time, it's August, like, oh yeah, I know what to do. But I'm just hopeful that people remember, to breathe, slow down.
In your nose, out your mouth.
Don't be scared to move when you need to move. Because, I mean, you've heard it probably a million times. Oh, he was right there, but I couldn't move, otherwise I would have got busted. You hear that a million times.
And I think that's them being, and I hate to reference it this way, but just being young, or more importantly, inexperienced in that moment.
You got to make it happen.
Yep, and I mean micro. You can just start shifting. You're looped up. Your hand's on the bow. You're on the loop, and you're just slowly start coming around. He's walking. He's looking a little bit. He's maybe committed because you called him, but you still got to do little things. You just got to start in advance before he gets too close, and then you're like, it's too late maybe if you didn't try to get all the way around. But and then you get in times people have that tether to their safety harness or whatever for a normal tree stand guy or something, or the tree's there and you got to go like this, and people are like, and you're just like, oh, you're just waiting it out, and it's just part of the process. It's just part of the process.
Yeah. This is something that I think is funny too. This might have been because we recorded one, and knock on wood, we've only lost like a handful of podcasts. One of them was unfortunately with you at the Iowa Deer Classic. I can't remember if this is the one that didn't go live or one that did go live, but you mentioned that OnX is like the most important tool that you pay for every single year. Is that still accurate? 7 years later?
It's like trail cameras. It's spoiled us all. It is so convenient. And then when I showed you some of my things today, my mileage it recorded, or you found out like 2 years ago, and I found out accidentally, I don't pull up the tools and then touch, and then go over there and touch, and I'll go, oh, that's 600 yards over there. Just take your two fingers and go, boop. Yeah. Remember that? We used that for years and didn't know that dang thing. I'm like, it's just, I love learning things like that, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I got a lot more to learn, and I hope it never ends. But yeah, it's been those two things. Everything's possible with this deer hunting. Shotgun, setting up your farm, your acreage for food plots. For me, it's just straight up legit OnX all the way, and it's just been one of my most useful tools, if you will, in the off season especially. Yeah,
I mean, it's all the time. Absolutely. Yep. What about when it comes to optics? I'm just curious. What do you have to have when it comes to bow hunting? Would you rather forget your rangefinders at home or your binoculars?
Again, this is just me. I do have a pair of, and your conversation with Cam and stuff. Yeah. It is landslide. This 10 and 12 power is so overrated. 8x32s, maybe an 8x42, 8 power all the way. Yeah. But without a doubt, if I can be in a tree and go, boop, that tree is 51. I got him from here on in. And then I'll check another one. Oh, that's 30. I guessed him at 30. It's 28. I got him. If I see it coming through the woods and I'm like, boy, that's a dang good deer, and it's getting closer, and I'm like, oh, this is go time. Like, I don't even know this deer. He's big. I'm going to shoot him. I don't need binoculars to tell me that. Yeah. If I have my rangefinder, he's dead. If I don't have my binoculars, he's still dead. Yeah. Yeah. That's just me, though.
I get it. Yeah, my eyesight's bad. I'm supposed to wear glasses. I don't. So I have the range finding binoculars now, and I'm like, oh, that's absolutely perfect for me.
I told Cam, I said, that's like perfect.
Yes.
And I get it in the big brand worlds that are $3,000 and $4,000 and them things. I may be off a little bit. They're like retail 800, and you got the rangefinder in the glass. It's in the binocular.
It's perfect because I used to have. I mean, I'm super excited to use them because my eyesight is bad. Like I admit it. Like we were just talking, I thought that deer was like 140 some inches. He was almost 160.
Yep.
And that's on glass, and I'm like, So to remove all that movement, to me, I am so excited about that. It's such a
and is that thing. Hawk with an E at the end?
Yeah.
HAWKE.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought that. And I've seen him. I've been around him, and
Yes.
I got to bother him a little more. So even the discount price. Let's work on something, Cam.
You can use code WHTL for anyone listening that wants to get some new glass. But so I want to obviously be respectful of your time here today. But is there anything else left on your chest that you want to talk about?
I guess one thing, and I kind of have it at the end of my notes there that I did last night and this morning. But with doing seminars, I've done some stuff in Ohio at Mount Hope, a little bit in Pennsylvania, and out across the country. Just small stuff. About halfway to 2/3 of the way through the seminars, and there's some of the wives sitting there with their husbands and stuff. I'll say, one thing you got to give me a little credit for in this seminar is I haven't really talked about anything that costs you any money. I'll talk about the full moon. I'll talk, obviously the cold front's coming in. But if there's one thing I could really, especially the younger guys that are in their teens, 20s, 30s, or guys that don't have a lot of time, they might be going on a $4,000 or $5,000 hunt to Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin. They got the peak of the peak. I don't even want to name brands, but all them high-end camouflages, all them high-end broadheads and arrows and bows, it's ultimately over the course of being a bow hunter, this kind of falls into woodsmanship for something you personally have to be observant about or take responsibility of. Is I would challenge everybody, and people go, oh, I have no trouble hitting a tennis ball at 30 yards, but is that your true effective killing range? Or maybe for the guys that are more experienced, let's push them out to 40 when he shows up, when it's the moment of truth. So my thing would be perfect your shooting skills in every form or fashion other than standing in the backyard on 2 feet with a t-shirt on over the next month or two, shooting at 20, 30 yards, 20, 30, 40 yards under normal conditions. That's a given. You've pretty much got that figured out when you're alone.
There's no pressure
at home and no one's watching. If your friends show up and they're standing there and drinking their sodas and they walk over to you and go, hey, I want to see you hit that one dot that you shoot at 20 yards. I want you to aim at that dot at 40 yards from here. You already went from 0 to 60. Don't try me. I've been there. I'll read you like a book that's never been written yet. You're going to be, they just did you a favor. Yeah. They just put you in an uncomfortable situation. And when that deer comes in behind you that we talked about, and you've got to wait it out, and you know it's going to happen, but he could be around you for 5 minutes. He could be making a rub at 40 yards, come in and hit the scrape. You've never had those two things happen to you ever in your life, and he just did them both in 3 minutes, and you're gassed up, and you're in an awkward position. Shoot out of a tree stand, shoot sitting in a chair. Turn your body almost away from your deer target at 10, 15, 20 yards and twist way back against your torso. Just be different. Perfect your shooting skills. Be the absolute best shot you can be with a bow and arrow for this coming fall.
I love that. I think you work so hard for the opportunity.
People wait 3 years. They got sheds off this deer for 3 years. They've named him 5 different times. They've had encounters with him, and the moment of truth shows up, even at 12, 14, 15 yards, and they blow it. Mm-hmm. It happens.
It's sickening.
Or it's at 35 yards, you ranged him, he's working a mock scrape out there, a normal scrape, or he's just standing there staring at a doe. He's nothing but a 3D target in your backyard. You got to convince yourself of that, and you got to follow through and execute that shot. Just be the best bow shot you can. Perfect your game.
I love it. Well, where can people follow along with what you have going on for this season, or maybe they have a question they want to reach out to you? What's the best way to get a hold of Jason?
Is that when they private message? Is that what they call the DM, the
yes.
direct message?
Yes.
Okay. Check me out at JasonMichael803 on Instagram, and you can private message me from there. You can hit me up. Some of the guys right down the chain of questions there, and I will do absolutely anything I can to help you.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it, and it was good. It was good to grab lunch. It was great. I'm glad this all worked out. So I really appreciate it.
Yep, I thank you. Thank you.